Hi, I'm Belinda, and welcome to Storytime with Belinda. Here, every story has a heartbeat, and each one is made to connect with you. Whether we're exploring a far off land or talking about something close to home, I hope you find a little piece of yourself in each tale. Let's get started, and thank you for being here. This is one of my absolute favorite Christmas/New Year stories by the Danish author Hans Christian Andersen. I grew up listening to this story every year at Christmas, and I hope you will love it as much as I do. I must warn you, though, it is a very sad story. But although the story is sad, it is also very beautiful. The little girl with the matches. It was terribly cold. It snowed, and the evening was beginning to darken. It was also the last evening of the year, New Year's Eve. In this cold and darkness, a poor little girl walked the streets with a bare head and naked feet. Yes, she had worn slippers when she left home. But what good had they been? They were very large slippers, last used by her mother, so big that they slipped off. She lost them when she hurried across the street to avoid two carriages that raced past her. One slipper was never found, and a boy ran off with the other, claiming he could use it as a cradle when he had children of his own. Now, the little girl walked on her bare feet, which were red and blue with cold. She carried a bundle of matches in an old apron, and in her hand, she held one bundle to sell. No one had bought anything from her all day. No one had given her even a single coin. Hungry and frozen, she wandered on, looking so forlorn. The poor little soul. Snowflakes fell on her long, golden hair, which curled beautifully at the neck, though she paid no attention to such things. Lights glowed from all the windows, and the smell of roast goose wafted through the streets. It was New Year's Eve, after all. Yes, that's what she thought about. In a corner formed by two houses, one of which projected farther out than the other, she sat down and huddled up. She tucked her small legs underneath herself, but the cold gnawed at her even more. She didn't dare go home. She hadn't sold any matches, nor earned a single coin, and her father would surely beat her. Besides, it was cold at home, too. They only had a roof above them, and the wind howled through the straw and rags stuffed into the largest cracks. Her little hands were almost numb with cold.
Ah,
A single match could bring such warmth. If only she dared to pull one out from the bundle, strike it against the wall, and warm her fingers. She pulled one out. Scritch! How it sparked! How it burned! It gave off a warm, bright flame, like a little candle when she cupped her hand around it. What a strange light! The little girl imagined she was sitting in front of a great iron stove with polished brass knobs and brass ornaments. The fire burned so beautifully and warmed so delightfully. She stretched out her feet to warm them, too, but the flame went out and the stove disappeared. She was left sitting with the burnt-out matchstick in her hand. She struck another match, which flared up and cast its light on the wall. The wall became transparent like a thin veil, and she could see into a room. A table was laid with a gleaming white tablecloth, fine porcelain, and a steaming roast goose stuffed with prunes and apples. Even more wonderful, the goose jumped down from the dish and waddled across the floor, carrying a fork and knife in its back, right up to the little girl. But then the match went out, and all she saw was the cold, thick wall. She lit another match. This time, she found herself under the most beautiful Christmas tree. It was even larger and more decorated than the one she had seen through the glass doors at the rich merchant's house last Christmas. Thousands of lights burned on the green branches, and colorful pictures, like those displayed in shop windows, looked down at her. The little girl reached up with both hands. Then the match went out. The Christmas lights rose higher and higher until they became stars in the sky. One of them fell, leaving a long fiery trail. "Someone is dying," the little girl said, for her old grandmother, the only person who had ever been kind to her, had told her, "When a star falls, a soul ascends to God." She struck another match against the wall, and it flared up, casting a radiant light. In the glow stood her grandmother, so clear, so shining, so gentle and blessed. "Grandmother," cried the little girl, "oh, take me with you. I know you'll disappear when the match burns out, just like the warm stove, the delicious roast goose, and the magnificent Christmas tree." Quickly, she struck the entire bundle of matches. She wanted to hold on to her grandmother, and the matches burned with such brightness that it was brighter than daylight. Her grandmother had never appeared so beautiful or so large. She lifted the little girl into her arms, and they flew together in brightness and joy, so high, so high. There was no cold, no hunger, no fear. They were with God. But in the corner by the house, on the cold morning of the new year, sat the little girl with red cheeks and a smile on her lips, dead, frozen to death on the last night of the old year. The New Year's sun rose on her small body, sitting there with the matches, of which one bundle had been nearly burned. She tried to warm herself, people said, but no one knew the beautiful visions she had seen or the glory into which she had entered with her beloved grandmother on New Year's Day. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I hope you had as much fun as I did. If you love this one, make sure to hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a new tale. Got a story idea? Drop it in the comments below. I'm always looking for new adventures to share. Until next time, stay curious and keep telling your own stories.